Do you think they lied today in this hearing?
100%. Yeah, they lied to my face.
Wow.
They lied to my face.
You, ladies and gentlemen, interfered with the United States of America 2020 presidential election, knowingly and willingly. That's the bad news. It's going to get worse because this is the investigation part. Later comes the arrest part.
I wouldn't agree with the characterization.
I don't care if you agree. This is your stuff. Yes or no, did you communicate with a private entity, the government agency, on a private cloud server, yes or no?
The question was if I
Yes or no? Yeah, I'm on time. Yes or no?
Ma'am, I don't believe I can give you a yes or no.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now that you did, and we have proof of it.
But to be clear, Facebook was also in it. And so what we uncovered was a pretty big deal today. I know that it actually ties into what Laura Loomer has as an actual lawsuit that she's currently pursuing. But this is a pretty big deal. And the fact that the government agencies were communicating with Twitter to interfere in free speech is a massive deal, not just for Republicans, but for everyone.
This is so awesome to see somebody like Laura Loomer taking on the establishment. She's taking on Facebook, Google, big business, big tech, the FBI, the United States government, all by herself with no support from anybody. Dear friends, Democrats were quick to jump on accusations of collusion and Russian election interference when it suited their purposes against President Trump. Now they are putting their heads into the sand because they have been caught red-handed colluding with big tech to interfere with our elections. During a congressional hearing conducted by the House Oversight Committee yesterday, it was disclosed that Twitter and Facebook executives and employees have been colluding with officials from the National Association of Secretaries of State, NASS, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, and the National Association of State Election Directors, NSED, to specifically target, ban, and censor accounts on various social media sites in a collaborative manner.
It's actually a RICO lawsuit against Twitter, Facebook, Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, P&G, that's Procter & Gamble, and then elements within the FBI and federal agencies within our government. The way that CNN has now recently gotten involved in this is because this lawsuit is progressing. I filed this lawsuit in May of 2022, prior to Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. My legal counsel and I, John Pierce, who has represented people like Kyle Rittenhouse, Carter Page, and George Papadopoulos, he received notice from Twitter notifying that they've just retained a general counsel, and the woman who they've retained, who works for a company called, a firm called Wilkie and Farr, used to actually do PR for CNN. And so clearly this RICO case has legs. I filed this case in May of 2022, and it alleges the conspiracy that we now know exists thanks to this Twitter hearing yesterday. Companies like Facebook and Twitter and the tech executives have been colluding in a coordinated conspiracy with the FBI and other individuals to interfere illegally in our elections. And so I know that Congresswoman Anna Paulina from Florida had retweeted my lawsuit, and last night on Tim Pool's show, she even mentioned how her testimony yesterday, where she provided evidence, right, of this cloud software system that these companies and the FBI are utilizing to illegally coordinate together, and how that directly relates to my lawsuit.
And if it wasn't already obvious, the key players from the NASS and the CISA were government officials who oversee our elections. The CISA falls under the Department of Homeland Security. And in November of 2022, they actually went on record and they were saying that they were going to take a hands-off approach to what they called election-related disinformation. Well, obviously not.
Bottom line is that the FBI had the Biden crime family laptop for a year. They knew it was leaking. They knew it would hurt the Biden campaign. So the FBI used its relationship with Twitter to suppress criminal evidence being revealed about Joe Biden 1 month before the 2020 election. You, ladies and gentlemen, interfered with the United States of America 2020 presidential election, knowingly and willingly. That's the bad news. It's going to get worse because this is the investigation part. Later comes the arrest part. Your attorneys are familiar with that. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to spend 5 hours with these ladies and gentlemen doing depositions surely yet to come. But for right now, I'll yield the balance of my time to my colleague, Mr.
Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna questioned Twitter employee Yoel Roth, the former head of Twitter's Trust and Safety. Trust and safety is an Orwellian term for censorship.
Make sure that I'm giving you guys correct information, but what we found out is that Twitter the executives and CISA, which was under DHS. So really it was their cybersecurity infrastructure and security agency was communicating on a private cloud server to actually have people deplatformed, their postings removed. And the interesting thing is that when we were in questioning, Yul Roth and then the rest of the executives pretended like they didn't know about it, and we actually had screenshots from the conversations. Mind you, this was done without any oversight at all, so they were operating in darkness. They were basically suppressing this information from the American people. And what this is known as is a joint state actor. Social media companies, to include Twitter, were in this platform, but to be clear, Facebook was also in it. And so what we uncovered was a pretty big deal today. I know that it actually ties into what Laura Loomer has as an actual lawsuit that she's currently pursuing, but this is a pretty big deal, and the fact that the government agencies were communicating with Twitter to interfere in free speech is a massive deal, not just for Republicans, but for everyone.
What about YouTube?
As of right now, I haven't been able to fully see what's on the private server, but we do know for a fact that Facebook, to include anything owned by them, so I assume also Instagram and then also Twitter, was in this private cloud server. And mind you, they were working with left-leaning organizations that were also part of the Election Integrity Partnership, and you can actually find this graphic on my @RepAPL Luna website.
Do you think they lied today in this
100%.
hearing?
Yeah, they lied to my face.
We choose truth over facts.
Wow.
They lied to my face. They could not recollect doing any of this, so I refreshed their memory with the graphic. But the point is that if we didn't have that graphic, mind you, the graphic was actually leaked on a Stanford University YouTube video. If we did not find that, we don't know that we would actually been able to have proven this information, that Jira existed, and that is a private software that they're communicating on.
So Roth has been caught using private cloud server Jira to collude with Facebook executives and government officials. When Roth was directly asked if he communicated with the private entities and government agencies on a private cloud server, he responded, "I don't believe I can give you a yes or no answer."
You, Mr. Roth, a Twitter employee, were exchanging communications on Jira, a private cloud server, with CISA, NASS, NASED, and Alex Stamos, who now works at Stanford and is a former security officer at Facebook, to remove a posting. Do you now remember communicating on a private cloud server to remove a posting? Yes or no?
I wouldn't agree with the characterization.
I don't care if you agree. This is your stuff. Yes or no, did you communicate with a private entity, the government agency, on a private cloud server? Yes or no?
The question was if I
Yes or no? Yeah, I'm on time. Yes or no?
Ma'am, I don't believe I can give you a yes or no.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now that you did, and we have proof of it. This, ladies and gentlemen, is joint action between the federal government and a private company to censor and violate the First Amendment. This is also known, and I'm so glad that there's many attorneys on this panel, joint state actors. It's highly illegal. You are all engaged in this action, and I want you to know that you will be all held accountable.
This is by Tom Parker, posted, "It's time to break up big tech's mafia and their organized crime. Laura Loomer files opposition to motion to dismiss RICO lawsuit against Meta and Twitter." So Laura Loomer's been arguing this case since 2018, and in her RICO case against Twitter, Jack Dorsey, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, P&G, and entities within the FBI and the United States government, this was my entire argument. As I have been arguing since 2018, these big tech tyrants are state actors. And I think we can all agree that the FBI is working as a state actor, going directly to Twitter to completely censor and deplatform conservatives, especially Laura Loomer, and she got it the worst. And Laura just said that she's thrilled to see members of Congress finally agree with her argument, and they're showing evidence that there is state actor collusion in official government hearings. This is huge for Laura. This is really, really big.
Because we're so focused on making Bitcoin the native currency for the internet. So it's meeting Elizabeth and team.
How can you say that this is a currency for everyone in the world when you are the king of censorship? Bitcoin is about decentralization, and you have no right to be here today speaking about this.
We're working on that too. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
No, but you are
I'm a reporter with Bitcoin Magazine. Can I answer some questions?
No. He's actually has to answer right now. You can answer outside the venue.
human rights activist right now. Jack Dorsey is committing millions of human rights violations by interfering in elections and censoring and silencing millions of people.
Voter suppression, don't you?
He is committing voter suppression. He interfered in my my campaign. I was the only deplatformed candidate in the nation, and Jack Dorsey is interfering in my election and the elections of, the free people of the United States of America and people all around the world by deciding who wins and who loses elections.
Put simply, these joint state actors engaged in blatantly illegal conduct to directly interfere with state and federal elections in the United States of America. If we want to talk about collusion to interfere with elections, it has been between our own government, big tech, the FBI, and the media. Despite the fact that big tech deplatformed me and their illegal election interference and deliberate censorship of both my congressional campaigns has destroyed my livelihood, destroyed my business, and severely damaged my reputation through the years of defamation. I never gave up in my fight to expose the truth and expose big tech censorship and big tech election interference, but I need your help and support to continue where I'm going. So Laura's basically saying she needs your help because Twitter just switched their legal teams to bring on some really, really big shots who had direct ties to CNN. The woman who Twitter and Jack Dorsey have retained to fight me in my RICO case was a member of CNN's political relations team. Jeez, oh Pete. So obviously Twitter and Jack Dorsey have retained an expensive CNN affiliated lawyer with experience in public relations. And given the fact that exposing is not only illegal, but they're also public relation nightmares for big tech and their executives. And that is why they'll do everything that they can to try to bury me in litigation and bleed me dry of my resources. If they lose, the illegal consequences of them are massive and they know it. So please help Laura, donate. I'm gonna donate right now to Laura's campaign. I'm not as rich as you guys, so let's help out Laura with $50. So let's donate $50 to Laura's campaign. Boom, we just donated to Laura's campaign. Let's go. And if Laura wins this lawsuit, it's going to set precedent for every other person that's ever been deplatformed from one of these platforms for posting anything political. It's going to open the floodgates. And imagine people like Laura Loomer with a fat payday. She's done this amount of damage being broke and being destroyed by every one of these big tech giants. Imagine what it's going to look like when she's got unlimited resources to take these suckers down and expose this corruption. I'm fighting for her. I don't know about you guys.
If you'll please take a seat or we'll have to have you, then you'll need to relieve.
Donald Trump, help us. Please help us, Mr. President, before it is too late, because Jack Dorsey is trying to influence the election, to sway the election.
What's she saying? I can't understand her. What?
Steal the election. That is why
What's
he
she
is censoring and shadow banning.
How about it in? 12 and a half, 15, 17.
Real funny. Real funny how they laughed about that, wasn't it? And look at the situation that we're in now because they were laughing at it. All these swamp politicians on the take, laughing at Laura Loomer, calling her crazy, conspiracy theorist, throwing her under the bus, deplatforming her from every social media platform on the planet, and then running her name through the mud, and then paying media outlets to run smear campaigns against her. That's the people that she's up against. So when you can donate a penny, $5, $10, anything you can donate to help Laura Loomer out, please do it. I'm actually trying to get her to get a crypto wallet set up, so hopefully she'll get a crypto wallet set up in the next couple of weeks. Yo, what up, YouTube? Hopefully you guys enjoyed that short little entourage there of Laura Loomer. Pretty crazy how hard and how bad the deep state has been basically trying to just destroy Laura. And that's why I wanted to show you guys I donated. I can only afford to donate $50, but if you guys could even give a few pennies to help out Laura's cause, I'm going to share this link. Out of all the people that the deep state is trying to basically silence, Trump, every one of them, right? So that's how you know that they're the right people fighting for us. So even if you guys can afford to give $10 and donate to her campaign, and just donate to help her fight against big tech, because they are pulling out all the stops. They just hired CNN's attorney. I mean, every little penny that you guys can give to Laura, if you want somebody that, I mean, just imagine if she wins this lawsuit and she has unlimited resources to take on big tech. I mean, and she's got a personal vendetta against her. And now we have two different congressmen and women that are actually, using Laura Loomer's name during their hearings and testimonies. There's one person that has more dirt on everybody, on all of these politicians. And what I love the most about Laura is even if she likes you, like she was a big advocate for Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? And then Marjorie Taylor Greene just seems to be like she's got some, shady, questionable stuff going on. And Laura's not going to not call you out. She's a truth seeker. She's a free speech absolutist. And if there's one person who's been fighting for us and has been more right than anybody about everything that's been going on, it's Laura. I mean, even Anna Paulina Luna is sticking up for her now. Yo, Pickle Rick, my man. Let's go, Rick. Send this for her to me. All right. Yeah, bet, Rick. You got it. Yep. I can do that for you. All right. Let's go, Rick. Appreciate that big time. I'll do that right after the stream. I'll donate another $20 for you. Thank you, homie. I appreciate that. Thank you guys all. Big time, big time. Time to pay the piper for these anti-American scum. Builders Resources, you nailed it. Every last one of these people needs to be held accountable for what they did. Alex Jones is more right, for sure. Alex Jones has been able to keep his voice. You know, where Laura, they deplatformed her for everything. I just found out she still has her, I'm trying to get her to call in. If she can see my text, I'll see if she'll call in and say some words and, you know, share some info about what's going on with her case. But she's got a big case. I mean, billions of dollars, I think. I read in her book, it was either $2 billion or $10 billion lawsuit against Facebook, Procter and Gamble, I forget, Instagram, I think, Twitter for sure. I love reading her stuff. She has dirt on everybody. And were you guys in the stream earlier about James O'Keefe? Link for Laura? Yeah, sure. I got you on the link for her. This is her Twitter right here. So she got deplatformed from Uber, guys. From Uber Eats, from LinkedIn, from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter. And then after they deplatformed her for everything, they ran major smear campaigns, destroyed her livelihood from PayPal. I think Chase Bank debanked her, but then they gave her banking account back after, you know, probably some legal battles. It's pretty crazy. I mean, how can you get deplatformed from Uber? It just doesn't make sense. Did you guys hear about the James O'Keefe? If you guys weren't in there, I want to play parts of this Twitter space. Happy birthday to Alex Jones. Tori, what up? What up? Big Tori in the house. Come on, man. Luna is awesome. Let's hear what Jim Jordan has to say here. Let me, sorry guys, I'm having issues with my audio. I can't hear myself right now, so hopefully I'm sounding all right for you guys.
Lied today in these hearings.
I think, of course, the biggest win was Elon Musk buying Twitter and showing us what was going on. As my good friend Thomas Massey said, he bought a crime scene. Cost him billions of dollars, but he bought a crime scene and laying out what happened there. That first they had their written policies that they enforced selectively, and then the closer they got to the election, the more they enforced them selectively. And then when their policies weren't good enough, they just had an ad hoc way of like, we're going to do whatever we want to do and censor whoever we want to censor.
Do you think the Twitter executives lied today in these hearings?
I think they didn't tell us everything because, you know, one of the things just one question, I was just talking with Lauren when she asked about the hearing today too, and I said, the one question that sort of stuck on me, I asked, because I looked at, you know, Baker's testimony, Jim Baker, who was deputy chief counsel, and before that he was chief counsel at the FBI. And on the top of the second page of his thing, he says that he didn't improperly suppress any information that would be good for the public dialogue. Well, if you didn't improperly suppress, then you believe you properly suppressed something. What was it and when did it happen? And he wouldn't answer it. And he hid behind a privilege. But I want to know if that's right around the time that the Twitter files, when Musk bought Twitter and they're doing the Twitter files and they find out those are being filtered through Jim Baker, was he suppressing information then? I don't know. So that was one of the takeaways I had.
I wonder if there's potentially an FTC violation with Twitter in that before Elon Musk took over, and even now, there was this, before Elon Musk, when you're on your Twitter feed, there's little stars in the top right corner. You click it, it says switch between your home feed, which is algorithmic, and the latest tweets, which means that a user like me or any other person who signs up, if we select latest tweets, we expect to see the posts from individuals we follow in reverse chronological order.
Right.
But Twitter was manipulating that feed while advertising falsely what they were delivering to people.
Yes, and we asked about that today. So we asked, great point. We asked, okay, so when someone gets their account suspended or gets suspended from it, or their tweet's being taken down, there's a notice of that. But if they're doing what they call other visibility filtering, like blacklisting someone, stopping them from trending, they don't know that. And it's happening. And I ask him, like, are you doing that on specific accounts? Is it driven by certain keywords that enforce that? How is that done? And they didn't really seem to, at least I didn't figure out how they were answering that. But the fact that they were doing that and people didn't know, then I said, did that happen to any government officials or elected officials? And he said he didn't know, but he thought it did. So this is Yoel Roth, who we asked these questions to. So again, that's something, and the examples in the Twitter files are Bongino and Charlie Kirk, that happened to them and they didn't know. Probably happened to you and you didn't know about it.
Yeah, somebody said I don't watch Tim often, but this was a good one. I agree. So it's pretty crazy. Now let's talk a little bit about James O'Keefe. Were any of you guys in this Twitter space last night? I know we streamed it earlier, but I just want to play the highlights of Laura Loomer and what's going on with James O'Keefe, because this is pretty big news. And, I've heard from insiders that were around James that he can be a little bit rough to work with. But like what actually took place here is this is a coup set up to take down James O'Keefe because James O'Keefe is pro-Trump. Plain and simple. 161 likes. Let's go. You guys are awesome. 352 watching. Thank you all so much. Bongino is another. Yeah. Dan Bongino has been going really good. Where do you guys want to go? You guys want to keep going down? You guys want to go down the Project Veritas rabbit hole, or do you guys want to go into some Dan Bongino stuff? This is really good to hear what people are saying about James O'Keefe. Yeah, the James O'Keefe thing. All right, yeah, let's go into this one. This one's a pretty big topic right now.
Well, which would be a breach of their
Cassandra, and then Success, you had your hand up after her.
Yeah, just
more than a company that just
and he's been a journalist.
So I was a senior in college, and I was doing undercover work for them my senior year, and then ultimately I ended up getting kicked out of college a month before graduation because of one of my exposés I did on my own university. And so after that, I moved to New York full time, where I was undercover in the Hillary Clinton campaign, doing undercover journalism throughout the 2015-2016 race, and traveled the country with various aliases, going undercover, exposing the Clinton campaign. And my videos were actually utilized during the debates and utilized by President Trump himself in that election, of course, between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And what I'll tell you is that from the time that I was at Veritas to now, the company has grown substantially. We were in a small little office that is actually right next door to their main office now. And, it wasn't as like tight of an operation. When I say tight of an operation, it wasn't on the scale that it is now. In the statement that Project Veritas released the other day, they talked about how regardless of what happens, they're still going strong because they have, a team of 65 plus journalists and, employees who work there. Well, the whole dynamic and the excitement about working for Project Veritas comes hand in hand with working alongside James O'Keefe. And while James himself doesn't necessarily do as much undercover work anymore, he does, as they were just discussing, the more forward-facing confrontations. That wasn't a thing when I was at Veritas, right?
So just because, who is that? Malcolm just said, good thing she didn't expose or whistleblow on Clinton. She did. The reason that we do not have Hillary Clinton as a president right now is because of a story that Project Veritas broke when Laura Loomer was working there. So if you guys got, $5 to spare to Laura Loomer, you can thank her and Project Veritas for the single fact that we do not have Hillary Clinton as a president instead of Trump. Could you imagine what this country would look like if Hillary was president instead of Trump? Oh.
So we only really did undercover work. And then that was kind of an element that developed when I left, right? This idea of like having other people other than James O'Keefe go out into the field and confront people on camera. But certainly, people know Project Veritas because of James O'Keefe, right? He is the face of Project Veritas. It's his company. He made it. It was his vision. And I think that as a former Project Veritas undercover and communications director, and also somebody who, traveled with James, kind of as his, like, when I say body man, like, I would travel with James everywhere he would go, right? He always needed somebody with him who would take care of things. And that was me. And up until the time that I left.
And I'll just tell you that the company would totally fail if they push James O'Keefe out. I mean, he has a relationship, not just with the donors, but also with all of the supporters and the fans, right? And I think that there's no way to actually really keep, Project Veritas alive if this coup of James O'Keefe is successful. And, I posted about this earlier in the week as well. I think that there's some power struggle dynamics taking place, especially among the board members, some of which have conflicting political aspirations, because what people tend to forget is that there's Project Veritas, okay, which is the undercover journalism, non-political aspect of Veritas, the 501c3. And then you have Project Veritas Action, which is the political arm of Project Veritas that does, the undercover work inside the campaigns. That's more political in that sense. And so, I think that the public is thinking of this as, oh, it's just Project Veritas, and they're not thinking of the fact that, the board oversees both, right? So you have Project Veritas Action, and I want everybody to think what's going to happen in 2024. What's already happening? Okay, we're seeing this. It's pretty obvious to everybody that Ron DeSantis is going to be filing to run against Donald Trump. He's waiting to file until around May or June because he's waiting for the Florida legislature to.
Yo, Jess Lou, thank you so much. $13.99 for Laura. Thank you so much. That's $33. Let's keep it going. Thank you guys so much. So what Laura's about to say here is she's about to expose that why this Project Veritas takeover, because James O'Keefe has been supported by Donald Trump since the very beginning. Donald Trump really likes Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. Now, the guy that Matt Tybid is the guy that's behind this coup on James. Now, listen to this video really quick. This is going to blow your mind.
To a red state, the third largest state in the country.
These are directives that are coming at all of these different networks down through all the affiliate TV stations.
Matt, John, let's take the DeSantis angle here. Let's peel this onion back a little bit more. I mean, he flipped Dade County so hard. You got Mike Lindell saying, hey, we got to look into election. Like, he did that. That's how good he did.
By the way, got to highlight that election for his first run for governor. It was the Project Veritas video late in that cycle that exposed how crooked his campaign was. His staff, Andrew Gillum, his college roommate and one of his head campaign managers was caught on tape saying, of course we lie to the voters because fairy tales begin once you're elected. And people saw that and they were outraged. And with that thin margin, Ron DeSantis not only won the governorship then and flipped Florida from a purple state, the old Ohio model, to a red state, the third largest state in the country, won re-election by historic margins, and now is obviously the front runner from the White House this upcoming cycle.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Wait, what was the rest of your question?
I promise to stay away from the DeSantis-Trump stuff as much as possible.
So this is Matt. This is the guy that just threw James O'Keefe under the bus. This is the guy who's trying to sabotage Project Veritas from the inside out. Now listen to his comments right here.
We're not talking about Trump. Nobody's talking about Trump. Who cares about Trump?
But I will say.
So who cares about Trump, right? The fact that Ron DeSantis owes his entire campaign to Trump. That's why we're talking about Trump. I just can't stand that dude, man. And it irks me that he did this to James. It really does. I'll show you the James O'Keefe Trump video here in a second.
Change a law that requires the governor of Florida to step down from their position within 10 days if they file to run for president. And so he's kind of secretly, but also not so secretly, pressuring the Florida Republican legislature to change that rule so that he can maintain his position as governor and run against Donald Trump. And
you guys got that so far? So Ron DeSantis, everybody's like, oh, Ron DeSantis hasn't decided that he's going to run for president. Because right now, if he were to say that he wanted to run for president against Trump, he would have 10 days by law in Florida to resign. So now that DeSantis wants to run for president and he lives in the state of Florida, well, guess what? Now he has to change the laws. How do you like that? It must be nice to be able to just change laws to fit whatever needs that you have. That's how you know that the system is rotten to the core and that DeSantis is the last person that we want in office. I don't care what he's done. If you guys haven't saw my small echo, thanks, Rick. If you guys haven't saw my DeSantis videos, wow, you should. Check them out on Rumble. What he was doing with the deep state and with the Bush administration when he worked at Guantanamo Bay as the JAG attorney at Guantanamo Bay. Nobody ever talks about those. Nobody ever talks about that. Yo, Drew, send it. Send it, my man. Let's go. 43 for Laura. Awesome, man. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much. Heck yeah, guys. Thank you. Big time. I told Laura, too, anytime I do the airdrops for you guys and somebody says pay it forward, I'm gonna send it to her. I'm gonna donate it to her. So thank you guys. Let's keep it going.
Me to have to say this, but you know, I'll choose James O'Keefe over anybody else that I had a relationship with at Project Veritas any day. Okay. I have friends who still work there, and I have friends who I've known nearly just as long as I've known James, and I've known James for 10 years. I met him when I was 20 years old, and I'm, going to be 30 this year. So almost 10 years. And I've been friends with Matthew Tierman, but I will say that I think that this is an incredible act of disloyalty. And I even publicly posted and tagged Matt, and I texted him, and I don't really understand what's going on. I know most of the board members myself personally. And I know for a fact that some of these board members have been donors to Ron DeSantis in the past, because some of the board members live here in Florida and I know them. I'm not saying they're bad people, right? These are people who I like very much. I like everybody from Project Veritas. But there's no denying the fact that there's a power struggle, right? Because Project Veritas is a weapon, okay? And just imagine the damage that they do when they go undercover in campaigns. And I think that there's probably some, conflicting interests among the board and some of these members. And James does a really great job, by the way, of never telling the public what his political views are. Even when I worked at Project Veritas, James never talked politics with the staff. We had political investigations, but James never would express partisan or what you would call bias or preferential opinions, right, towards any candidate. Obviously, President Donald Trump is a fan and supporter of Project Veritas, and it's publicly known that Donald Trump even once donated to Project Veritas. So you can see that, this, and I can confirm this because I know this to be true, is one of the issues at hand. Right, is just this looming power struggle leading up to 2024. And some of the board members are very closely affiliated, like Matt himself. And again, I like Matt, but I'll choose James O'Keefe over anybody any day. Right? It's Project Veritas is James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe is Project Veritas. And simply because Matt is associated and is publicly showing support and making, in my opinion, inappropriate statements like Ron DeSantis is the 2024 Republican frontrunner, right? That's what he said when he was hanging out with a lot of these alleged, what some people are saying paid DeSantis influencers who are astroturfing this non-existent but kind of existent presidential campaign. And you shouldn't be making positions like that. You shouldn't be making statements like that if you are on the board of Project Veritas or Project Veritas Action. So there's a political struggle. And then also to, one of the board members, I guess, who has ties to Goldman Sachs also has some, connection with Pfizer. And, this is what I'm told from people who I know who still work at Project Veritas, who I'm friends with. And these are James O'Keefe lawyers.
Yes, Lou, another one. Thank you so much. Gosh, Laura's going to be so happy about this. Thank you all so much, guys. Really, thank you.
So whether Project Veritas and the staff and the board members want to come clean with the public and be honest about what this is really about, who knows, right? My loyalty is to James O'Keefe. I love Project Veritas. I wrote about my experience extensively in my book. James O'Keefe wrote the foreword for my book. We're very close. But at the end of the day, how do you support, a company that chooses to exist without the founder of the company or completely pushes them out? It's like a theft of his idea. It's a theft of his creation. So I think that that's how most people feel anyway. So I feel confident in saying all these things because given the backlash that Project Veritas has received online, it's obvious that they're going to completely fail unless they keep James O'Keefe on. It's going to be a terrible decision for them because he could easily just go create some type of Project Veritas 2.0 and take all the donors and supporters with him.
Malcolm, am I saying that right? Malcolm? So he says, DeSantis may be a politician. He did do the right things during COVID. He is riding the power of the MAGA movement, or is he really for the people? So what's funny about that is a lot of people think that DeSantis didn't shut down Florida, which he did. A lot of people think that he wasn't pro the jab. He was. He was encouraging everybody to get the jab in the beginning. He may have came to the light before everybody else, which was that by design. Who's pulling the strings? DeSantis sent our troops, the Florida National Guard, it was called like Gator something. DeSantis sent troops over to Ukraine. So he's been very vocal about being pro-Ukraine. He's pro the war. He's being funded by some of the biggest military-industrial complex gurus out there. Let me get a video, show you who is DeSantis' number one backer, and he's been backing DeSantis from the very beginning. And Trump fired this dude. And now this dude's backing DeSantis. So let me show you.
So we all need to support James.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Laura, for joining us and saying that.
Yeah, and I'll just say one last thing too before I let somebody else talk. I will say that, I don't hate Matt. I'm just disappointed, right? Matt has been a friend of mine. I've been close with Matt Tiermon too. Like I said, I know the board members. I'm close with some of the board members. Some of them, supported me when I ran for office. I'm not saying that these are bad people, right? I don't hate any of these people. That's why this is so sad to see, because these people are my friends. They were my colleagues. They were my acquaintances. Matt and James and I have known each other for almost 10 years, right? Or at least I've known both of them for 10 years. And it's sad to see people who you thought were, tied together through, I would say like we're not related, right? But almost like kind of like a blood connection, because that's how James would talk to me. He would call me his sister, right? He put that in my book. And that's how I feel. I feel like these people are my family. James is like family to me. All
right, so let's just break. I'll break in and back in between these as soon as I find some more articles. So this is Tucker 3 years ago. John Bolton has always been a snake. And now John Bolton, keep in mind, this is DeSantis' number one supporter, right?
The campaign then. Donald Trump used tonight. Going on. Guest at the impeachment trial. It continues this hour. The president's legal team currently speaking. We'll dip in live if anything newsworthy happens. Think back to 2016 in the campaign then. Donald Trump used to recite a poem about a woman who took a dying snake into her house and nursed it back to health. The snake did become healthy and then immediately whipped around and bit the woman. As she breathed her last breaths, the woman asked the snake, "Why did you do this?" "Well, because I'm a snake," was the reply. "That's what we do." All of which somehow reminds us of disgraced former National Security Advisor John Bolton. Republicans in Washington tonight seem shocked to discover that Bolton has turned and betrayed his former boss, Donald Trump. But they shouldn't be shocked. That's who John Bolton is. That's who John Bolton has always been. That's what John Bolton does. And not to brag, we called it long ago. Yesterday, the New York Times reported that Bolton's new book contains sections designed to help the Democratic case for impeachment. Bolton accuses the president of delaying military aid to Ukraine in order to pressure its government into investigating Hunter Biden. Again, people in Washington seem stunned by this, or claim to be. If Bolton disliked Trump so much, they wonder, why did he join the administration? Well, the answer is simple. Bolton wanted war with Iran. He's always wanted war with Iran.
All right, so I found it. Let's jump to this one. I'll jump back to this one. So this was Tucker brought Bolton on the show and exposed him 4 years ago.
For a personal meeting with the President of the United States. News reports, a lot of them suggest he could be the next national security advisor. So the following question is more relevant than ever. What does Ambassador Bolton think is the greatest threat to America today? Ambassador Bolton joins us tonight. Great to see you, Ambassador.
Glad to be here.
So it feels like we're moving kind of in slow motion toward a conflict with Iran and Russia in Syria. Do you think we are?
Well, I think that's one possibility. I think the Iranians have clearly gamed what they plan to do after the defeat of the ISIS territorial caliphate.
Yes.
I think they were thinking of it when our strategists were not thinking of it, and we're now suffering the consequences with Iran literally on Israel's border, flying drones into Israeli airspace. I don't think that's the really most dangerous aspect of the Middle East, though. I still think it's Iran's support for terrorism and its continued effort to get deliverable nuclear weapons.
Right. So obviously Iran was greatly empowered by the fall of Saddam. I think in retrospect we can concede that. There haven't been any Iran-sponsored terror attacks in this country that I'm aware of in the last 25 years. There have, of course, been many, many, many sponsored by Saudi Arabians of the Gulf states and the Sunni Arab world. So why should we see Iran as our primary threat?
Because Iran, for many decades, has been the world's central banker of international terrorism, funding Shia, Sunni terrorists on an equal opportunity basis, providing arms to them as they do to Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So it's their support for terrorism generally that should concern us, not necessarily specific attacks in the United States.
But, in order to, commit American troops and the billions it takes to prosecute any kind of conflict, wouldn't you want to go after the people who are attacking us here first?
Yeah. Well, nobody's talking about committing massive amounts of troops. What we have to worry about, I think, most importantly, is the threat of North Korea's nuclear weapons program, which is more advanced than Iran's. But it all ties together in the Middle East. You may have seen reports recently of a UN inspector's study of North Korea selling chemical weapons, precursor chemicals, and equipment to manufacture chemical weapons to Syria, likely financed by Iran. So there's a palpable threat of weapons of mass destruction, something President Trump acted against earlier in his term, that the North Koreans have brought into the Middle East with Iran's participation.
I believe that they're all bad places. Though in 2015 you wrote a piece for the New York Times saying we ought to bomb Iran in order to stop their weapons program.
That's not quite what I said. That's what the New York Times headlines said.
Right. Well, that's how I read it anyway.
And as you know, they write the headlines and the op-ed writer.
Right. But I don't think that's the only time you call for conflict, armed conflict with Iran. But if we had done that then, where do you think we'd be now?
Well, I think Israel could have done it 15 years before, and we'd be in a much better place, as Israel itself and the United States are in a better place today for Israel having bombed Saddam Hussein's nuclear reactor in 1981, and for Israel having bombed the reactor that North Korea was building in Syria in September of 2007.
So you've called for regime change in Iraq, Libya, Iran, and Syria. In the first two countries, we've had regime change, and obviously it's been, I'd say, a disaster. I think we agree.
No, I don't agree with that. And let me.
You don't think it's been a disaster?
No, because to argue that, you have to argue. Let's just take Iraq to begin with. You have to argue that everything that followed from the fall of Saddam Hussein followed inevitably, solely, and unalterably from the decision to overthrow him. And that's simply not true.
I would never argue that. I'm merely arguing the macro picture, since you just said that Iran is the single greatest threat to us and to that region. I think you'll concede that Saddam was the greatest counterbalance to Iran, and they were empowered by his fall. So I think it's fair to say if you think Iran is the real threat that way, it's kind of hard to defend that decision, right?
No, because I think your analysis is simple-minded, frankly.
Okay.
The Iranian threat, which stems from the revolution of 1979, was underway quite apart from what Saddam Hussein was doing. The Iranians have been trying to get nuclear weapons for 25 years.
So you don't think the fall of Saddam made Iran stronger?
I think it made the fall of Saddam, did not make Iran stronger. What made Iran stronger ultimately was the withdrawal of American forces in 2011.
So if I'm not saying you're the only person who thinks that. You're the only person I have met who thinks that. What would you say if you could sum up the one lesson from what has happened in Iraq? What would it be?
Well, I think the overthrow of Saddam Hussein, that military action, was a resounding success. I think the mistakes that were made subsequently, setting up the Coalition Provisional Authority and others that followed from it, are lessons about what to do after a regime is overthrown. But I'd also point out, because of President Bush's surge policy, when his administration ended, stability had returned to Iraq. It was not a place you'd go for vacation.
Right.
But he turned it over to Barack Obama, and it fell apart subsequently. And the point I think you need to understand is that life is complicated in the Middle East. And when you say, well, the overthrow of Saddam Hussein was a mistake, is simplistic.
I would argue that I'm the one who understands how complicated it is, but just my view.
Ooh, so sorry. So that was a legendary interview. If you go onto Fox Nation and you look at like their legendary interviews of all time of Tucker's, that's like number 5th on there. So it's like one of the 5th most viewed whatever of Tucker's things of all time. So now let's watch the next part. Now remember, we're watching this because this is the guy who is funding the DeSantis campaign. And DeSantis just got busted paying $21,500 to the Babylon Bee to write so DeSantis PAC paid the Babylon Bee $21,500 to make anti-Trump propaganda. Now, Babylon Bee denied taking payment to make quote-unquote anti-Trump propaganda, but they admitted to being paid and being a supporter of DeSantis. So the DeSantis PAC is now already spending money, which is funny because you heard DeSantis come out and say like, I'm busy what do you say? I'm busy fighting Joe Biden, not spreading lies about other Republicans. Except for DeSantis is the one who started this. You saw him do the thing with Truth Social and put the big Truth banner behind himself when he had that whatever. All right, so let's jump back over to this one now. This is Tucker explaining why Bolton's a snake. This was 3 years ago.
He's obsessed with it. Here he is, for example, gleefully fantasizing about regime change there long before he became National Security Advisor. Watch.
I have said for over 10 years since coming to these events that the declared policy of the United States of America should be the overthrow of the mullah's regime in Tehran. And that's why before 2019, we here will celebrate in Tehran. Thank you very much.
In Tehran! But Iran wasn't Bolton's only target. He also wanted more war in Syria and war in Venezuela, too. He wanted the war in Afghanistan to continue until your great-grandchildren are too old to serve. And of course, like all neocons, he wanted war with Russia. Lots of it. In 2016, Bolton cited Russia as one of America's greatest threats. Can you imagine? But not China. For Bolton, every conflict was the final test of America's resolve and a chance to use overwhelming military force. Maybe because he never served in the military himself, Bolton genuinely, passionately loved war. In the end, of course, he didn't get it. Trump blocked him at the brink of more than one conflict. Bolton finally left in well-deserved humiliation. Bolton's resignation was one of the highlights of the president's first term, a day of celebration for normal people everywhere, but not in America's newsrooms. The media were sad to see John Bolton go. They love wars. Wars mean they get to move tanks around on a screen and talk about weapon systems. And so suddenly, for the first time, they love John Bolton. What a hero he was.
Bolton is something different. He's one of them. And he's not prone to just lying.
And you have to give him the benefit of the doubt on credibility because this president deserves zero.
It did feel like we were marking time and this was becoming a planned acquittal.
Right.
And yet we have a Perry Mason moment.
Who are you going to believe, Donald Trump or John Bolton? You could believe probably a dead frog more than you could believe Donald Trump at this point.
John Bolton is a lot of things, but able to be painted as the deep state actor is not one of them. So good luck with that. Republicans can now exhale and acknowledge that the earth is round, that Donald Trump is indeed corrupt. They can rely on a man who is the Republican version of Justice Scalia in foreign policy circles, a conservative's conservative.
A conservative's conservative, says a liberal. In fact, the only thing John Bolton helped conserve over the past 20 years is Raytheon's stock price. He did a good job there. The many pointless conflicts he's been pushing are not conservative. They're just the opposite of that. They're a big part of the reason our middle class is dying. That seems obvious to you. It's not obvious here. In Washington, counterproductive wars are a virtue, not a vice. Just ask Mitt Romney, one of their biggest champions. Over the last week in the Senate, Romney has made a ton of ambivalent noises about having relevant witnesses testify to the public. Hunter Biden, Adam Schiff, the whistleblower who shall not be named? I'm not sure. Not really necessary, says Mitt Romney. But John Bolton? Mitt Romney would love to see his old friend John Bolton testify before Congress. Keep in mind that Bolton was once a, quote, senior foreign policy advisor to Romney's doomed presidential campaign, and clearly they're still friends.
I think with the story that came out yesterday, it's increasingly apparent that it would be important to hear from John Bolton. It's pretty fair to say that John Bolton has a relevant testimony to provide to those of us who are sitting in impartial justice.
Will John Bolton testify? Who knows? Either way, it won't change the outcome. Trump will be acquitted. This is a totally stupid sideshow. We'll be embarrassed about it later. But it's worth taking this moment to pause and think about John Bolton himself for a moment anyway. How did a guy who disagrees so completely with everything that Donald Trump ran on and won on, how did that guy wind up in a position of power in the White House? Good question, because he's not the only one.
Yeah, so you guys see where this is headed. So now we'll jump back to the Laura Loomer stuff here in a second too. So now I don't know if you guys seen what's going on with Gary Gensler, right? But in 2013, when Gary Gensler was the head of the CTFC, right, there were investigations where he was doing some shady dealings. By law, government employees, especially people like Gary Gensler, regulators, by law, they cannot use their personal cell phone to handle anything government related. Everything has to go through their government issued phone, so that way that there's a paper trail and records of it, right? So this is a story of Gary Gensler in 2011, 2013, when he worked as the CTFC under, I think it was under, I forget what administration it was under, Obama. Over here today, I posted this thing about the FTX investigation. These, like, all of this is just a dog and pony show, right? So here's, who made this post? Did I retweet his post? So anyways, Gary Gensler is refusing to show up to the oversight committees, right? He's refusing to show up for his subpoenas. So the Honorable Gensler, I forget who did this, Patrick McHenry, the chairman, and Bill so-and-so of the oversight committee go, like, we told you guys we were going to hold Gary Gensler accountable. They requested all records of communication between and among any employees in the SEC Division of Enforcement, including but not limited to so-and-so, and then again down here, all records not limited to Gary Gensler for the period of November 2nd, 2022 to February 9th of 2023. So you mean to tell me that they're going to hold Gary Gensler accountable? When did the FTX collapse happen? Like November 2nd, 4th, whenever it did? Why would you only request to see Gary Gensler's phone records from November 2nd of 2022, when he was meeting with Sam Bankman-Fried up to 3 times a month in Washington? 3 times a month, Sam Bankman-Fried was going to Washington. So think about that. This is all, and then the people that they brought on for the House hearing committees, that Parker girl, I don't know if you guys saw that story where her boss, like, she wasn't even an FBI whistleblower, right? We had Kyle Seraphin he's one of the FBI whistleblowers come on the show that day. And he was telling us that Parker girl, like, her partner got shot on duty and she, like, saw it and it like, she was so emotional. She was a train wreck. She couldn't even continue. So she quit the FBI. She wasn't a whistleblower. She quit. And Kyle Seraphin's buddy, they paid for this other FBI whistleblower to fly out to Washington to testify in those committees. And after he paid his own way to go to Washington, which they don't pay for your travel. So all these FBI whistleblowers that got laid off and fired from the FBI and have no income right now, our government won't even spend $2,000 to fly them out to Washington for them to testify. That's how rigged and such a joke this is. Kyle Seraphin had to pay for this guy out of his own pocket. And they bumped him off after he paid for his own way to go to Washington to testify because they wanted a whistleblower on stand. They replaced him with this Parker girl, who's a pretty blonde girl, who is fake crying. And then they replaced him with her. It's like all of this just seems to be like a big dog and pony show. I don't know if we're ever going to get to it. And I think that's part of why they were trying so hard to take out, James O'Keefe. And this is all a big setup just to take down O'Keefe. It's so sad because O'Keefe is getting to the bottom and exposing all of this. Like, how much of the Pfizer stuff would we not know and would not be part of court records if it wasn't for, what they did? I'll shut up now.
I would actually take a bullet for James O'Keefe. There's not many people that I like on this planet. There's not many people that I trust. There's not many people that I would really consider or call one of my true friends, but James O'Keefe is one of my best friends. He's my mentor. And it's really sad to see people who, presented themselves as a trustworthy friend to James O'Keefe kind of turn around and stab him in the back. So I hope that, they change their behavior soon.
So next, I know we had Success up next, and then Chris, and then Aaron, and then veteran. So in that.
So I'm going to skip through these because there's a bunch of just clowns in here that are pro DeSantis and are trying to just undermine this whole thing. So I'm going to try to skip ahead to where
that have an agenda.
To James shortly.
So
and easily.
what I was going to say.
And thank you, James, for giving me.
Gets uncovered that people knew about stuff and were, criminally misrepresenting facts. That's a different story. That needs to be prosecuted. But I'm more concerned with the truth getting out there.
Okay, Brooks, real quick, just to.
The well is poisoned.
And unprecedented power.
Is listening. So I was gonna say, did you mention did you say the secret word? Like, did you say Laura wants to talk to you?
I said no. I said Loomer would like to speak to you if you want to.
Great, because I was like, if you didn't say that, I mean,
well,
let
me.
I'll text James and see if he's having a hard time getting in.
Well, when
an academic, very, I've been,
space. I can't believe that.
But
put as a number victim on the Clinton body count list. But no, I mean that was stressful. And you didn't have these types of attendants, and O'Keefe is Project Veritas. I don't,
which is be brave, do something, and the board, and you get too big.
Holy hell! How did a pronoun person get hired at Project Veritas?
So did you hear that? One of the people that is leading the charge or ousting Project Veritas, they identify it with their pronouns. Let that sink in.
Exactly.
I was like,
that's the biggest.
And that was like such a red flag for me too, because I had already left Veritas. Like I left Veritas several years ago. When I first started working for them, it was like 2000 and like the end of 2014 I started, and then was full-time in 2015. So I don't know this individual, but I did see the bio, and I just thought that was so bizarre. Like, how do you have pronouns in your bio and work for Project Veritas?
Yeah, we laugh about it. There's something fundamentally wrong with a person when they put their pronouns in their bio. And I'm going to say there's something even more fundamentally wrong about you when you're a man and you do. So, whatever, good riddance to this crazy woke board and start it anew. He'll be fine.
Yeah, like I said before earlier, hours ago, I said James O'Keefe is Project Veritas. Project Veritas is James O'Keefe. So, I just think it's funny, as someone who worked for Veritas, like the board thinks that they have this kind of power to push James out, because just like you said, he could, if he wanted to, he could just start Project Veritas 2.0 and take all the donors, all the money, all of the supporters with him. Like, does the board actually think that people support Veritas because of their board? It's kind of laughable, because when you read the memo, and this is what I had said earlier when I was on the space, it just sounds like such a petty HR issue, something that your typical executive director or HR official could deal with. And earlier in the space, there were, several like former Veritas whistleblowers in, and like they were all talking about the dynamics in Project Veritas, and it's like, this is the most elite undercover journalism entity in the entire world. So you are going to be in high stress situations, and it just speaks more to like the character of the people who, if it's even real, it just seems so manufactured and fake. But if these are real complaints about James O'Keefe, it makes those people look bad. It just shows that they don't really have what it takes to work with somebody as high caliber as James O'Keefe, right? Somebody who is clearly a genius and somebody who's clearly like a journalistic icon, especially when it comes to undercover journalism. So it's just pathetic, because I as somebody who was undercover when I was at Project Veritas, I was undercover in the Hillary Clinton campaign. Okay, you want to talk about stressful, like leading up to the election? And
you lived to tell it too, Laura. Like that
I know,
is
right?
an achievement.
I know. I haven't been put as a number or victim on the Clinton
You haven't
body
been
count
suck
list.
rich.
But no, I mean, that was stressful. And you didn't have these types of issues. And that's why it seems very bizarre to me, because there's always, and any workplace environment, especially in a high stress situation, like people have little squabbles back and forth, and it's just normal, and you get over it. And if it really bothers you that much, then you better find another job, because working for, the most elite journalistic entity in the entire country, when you're, doing high target, high stress situations, that's not going to be for you. So I just think it's a real shame on anybody on the board who tried to push James O'Keefe out. Shame on anybody at Project Veritas who made false accusations against James O'Keefe, because I know James. He's one of my best friends. He wrote the foreword for my book. He's a mentor to me. Like, this is just such bullshit. James doesn't talk to people like that. James doesn't treat people badly. Okay. He's a wonderful person to work for. And I miss Project Veritas. I'd go back to Veritas if I could. I love James O'Keefe. I left because I just wanted to do something independent. And, I was doing undercover work for several years, but it's an honor working for James O'Keefe. He's the best person I've ever worked for in my life. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, Laura.
I'll just add.
Yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'll just add to that and say the type of people who whine publicly about someone being mean to them are the type of people who lie publicly about someone being mean to them. If they don't like it, they can just quit. That's what people do. They don't like their boss, they quit. Get a life, grow up. Thank you.
Well, and also, how selfish do you have to be? Like, I don't want to sound like a bitch when I say this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. But like, how selfish does somebody have to be to think that they're on James O'Keefe's level to like make such a petty complaint to like sabotage, like I said before, the most elite undercover journalist entity?
Thank you all. Thank you, Rick, Jess, Tori, and who else sent some, everybody sent a little bit for Laura. So I just sent that $65 to Laura. So appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
In the world for their own feelings. Like, they're on another level at Project Veritas, okay? Exposing the most powerful tech companies in the world. We literally prevented Hillary Clinton from becoming president of the United States with our undercover investigations. Exposing big tech, exposing the pharmaceutical industry, exposing the FBI, exposing everybody. And someone's going to try to jeopardize that, like the future of one of the last hopes for journalistic integrity, journalistic truth, and free speech in this country because their feelings got hurt. I mean, that's a fireable offense in my opinion. I just think these people, they just need to clean house and get people who are actually cut from the same cloth as Project Veritas, or as the same cloth as James O'Keefe, and people that can actually handle and respect what it means to work for somebody like James O'Keefe or Project Veritas. It's just, I just can't imagine, I don't know. I guess I would have serious issues if I was still working at Project Veritas and I had to work with people who were that sensitive. I guess I'd have internal issues too, because I can't imagine ever betraying James O'Keefe like that. Imagine having somebody like James O'Keefe give you the job of a lifetime, an opportunity of a lifetime to go undercover, and then you're going to betray him by going to the board and making like petty accusations about your feelings being hurt. It's just asinine to me as somebody who
He
worked
made
for
me
Project
get a
Veritas.
sandwich.
Yeah.
He made me get a sandwich, and then he ate a pregnant woman's sandwich instead.
Yeah.
That's literally what they're trying to accuse James of being mean to his employees and eating a coworker's sandwich because she was pregnant. Like, what? The most realistic, hardcore journalist in the world, the one that's exposing everything and fighting for us, they're trying to undermine this. What a joke, isn't it?
It's really pathetic in my opinion. Like, anybody who made a complaint against James O'Keefe, who works at Project Veritas, in this letter should just resign out of embarrassment for the embarrassment that they themselves are, because it's just embarrassing that people would be so petty and just so selfish to the mission at hand. And that's what you learn at Project Veritas. It's about mission first, okay? It's about putting your mission first, not your feelings first. Bunch of snowflakes.
The truth is
Hey,
that the pregnant woman probably had a bite of her sandwich, got heartburn, and he did her a favor by eating it. That's probably what's actually.
there you go. Listen, I wanted to just take a break for a moment. Everyone, please retweet the space. Also, everyone, please excuse me for a
Drew, thank you,
second.
Drew.
This is from my brothers and sisters in Web3. Yo, Shirley Lowe, what's up? I see you've been in the space since the beginning. If you want to prove you're not a bot, give me an emoji. Nikki, I
World, and I am doing
everything that's said tonight. Had it not been for your incredible work, many of us would have still been pondering. As a matter of fact, there are certain things on my supposed conspiracy theorist list that I didn't have. I didn't think that Pfizer would be, doing directed evolution. That wasn't even on my list. You've uncovered things that weren't on the radar for us, and the whole world thanks you, and thank you so much for having me on, guys. Love you at work, James. Thank you so much.
So I am going to actually hop off. I jumped on this space right after my plane landed, my luggage in the door, had a whirlwind trip to San Francisco, and I need to get ready for bed. So I'm really sorry to hop off, but I'm so grateful for everyone on here, and Spinks, thanks for putting this together and coordinating it with my schedule. That was really nice of you. I
Be
appreciate
careful
it.
on the sidewalks tomorrow. I
No,
hear
I
this.
just got back from there. I survived it. I saw a
Oh,
man
okay.
pull his mask down to light a crack pipe, and in broad
Yeah.
daylight
I was in
Awesome.
San Francisco.
I was in San Francisco last week, and like, honestly, I don't want to sound too graphic when I say this, but like, you can't even.
Oh yeah, we'll wrap that one up there. That's basically all they said. I just wanted to show you guys that we're getting played on this whole, on everything. It's just not debatable anymore. The corruption that we are all witnessing is overwhelming. I don't know where. Oops, I always echo. I don't know where it's gonna go from here, but it's just wild watching all this take place. Yeah, indeed. Did you guys see this stuff about them earthquakes? That they actually have like electronic equipment that they're able to basically create earthquakes on demand. I don't know. I haven't really seen anything about it. I don't know how true it is, but if you've seen those clouds over Turkey, that is wild. D, where did you got that? You got that on Twitter? Let me see if I can pull that up on here. I'm afraid I don't know what I can say on here and what I can't say. Send it to me on Twitter really quick. Yeah, they did get caught. They didn't like it, Forrest. Dane Miller, what's up? Peter, what up? Rev, good to see you. Pickle Rick in the house. You didn't see the cloud thing? All right, let me see if D can send it to me over on Twitter. I'll try to pull it up here. Yeah, let me see if I can just Google it. So there's some fact checks on here. This is just one of the ones that I've seen. So you see these really, really strange shaped clouds that you just wouldn't, we've never seen them in nature before, right? And they're over Turkey now. Like when these big earthquakes are happening, there's people are taking these photos, and now this is like the second or third time. Now there's some fact checkers out there that are saying that they're not true, whatnot, but it's really strange to see. It's definitely something to think about. Let me see if D can send me something over here on Twitter. You have Twitter? They've dropped tungsten rods from space, and the kinetic energy destroys the deep underground military bases. Wow, that's so crazy. I mean, technology is getting so advanced. Yeah, I tried to get. She just texted me. I don't know if she's got time to jump on for a call or not. Just text me back. Oh, she might go to DC during CPAC. You want to say something? Yeah, she's busy right now. So She said she just sent me a text, said she might be going to CPAC, but I'll try to get her on stream. If not, she sounds like she's going to be coming down to CPAC, so that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm live. Oh, shoot. Hold on. She might. Yeah, I can call. All right. Yeah, here. She's going to call. Sweet. Sweet. Laura's going to call in for a second. Hey, what's up, Laura?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You're live with us.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, everybody.
We just raised about $65 for you through people that just donated in super chats to send to you. So
thank you.
Yeah, we all appreciate you. So tell us a little bit about your story. How long do you got? You got 5 or 10 minutes to give us a little rundown?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I just retweeted your live stream too. So I wanted to say thank you to everybody. And I know that, you and I have been talking, and it's been hard to kind of coordinate times to meet up because, of course, my schedule lately has been crazy with all the traveling I've been doing with my lawyers and, helping with the J6 cases. And now I have my own legal case. But we'll probably meet up. I just texted you. I was banned from CPAC in 2019, so who knows if probably won't go inside, but maybe we'll meet up in DC around that time and we can do an actual interview. But the lawsuit is proceeding. Like I said, this was filed in May of 2022, so prior to Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. And ultimately, it's what I've been saying for years, is that these government agencies and the federal government has been working with the big tech social media tyrants and other multinational corporations and individuals to interfere illegally in our elections. And finally, it's all come out in these hearings now, and it substantiates these claims.
And how is your case going? You just said something about they hired a CNN attorney?
Yeah, so right now they're trying to get it dismissed, and so their motions to dismiss are due, I believe, of March. But of course, they're lawyering up ever since this Twitter hearing, and they brought on Obama's lawyer, this guy named Michael Gottlieb. They hired this woman that used to do PR for CNN. So they're definitely bringing on big firm attorneys through that's just Twitter and Jack Dorsey. But of course, that doesn't even include Facebook or Mark Zuckerberg's lawyers, and who knows what the FBI is going to say as well. But definitely lawyering up to fight against me.
And what is their case? Like, what are they trying to say? I mean, it seems like there is so much evidence on your side. Is there any way that they can fight this, or are they just trying to tie it up long enough till you go broke?
Well, we're waiting to see what they're going to say. I guess they're going to try to file a motion to dismiss, but of course, for the last few years, they've denied these claims, right? So when I filed my case in 2018, alleging that they were state actors, they denied it. They denied that they were working together. They denied that they were interfering in our elections. But now we know that they lied, right? They've been lying because they have been interfering in our elections.
Yep, 100%. So what is their, like, if it doesn't get dismissed, then it goes to trial, and you're going to have to both, go to discovery and plead your case, where you're obviously going to destroy them, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why this is so important, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and this lawsuit is going to blow it all open. And we already know Elon Musk himself has said that Twitter is a crime scene. So, there's a criminal element to this in the RICO claim that I've made. And, in the words of their own CEO, then the new owner of Twitter, right? He has called Twitter a crime scene. And it's kind of bizarre because Elon Musk actually blocked me on Twitter last week. And I don't know why, right? I assume probably it has something to do with legal, but, clearly the lawyers aren't too happy.
Wow. I can't believe he blocked you. Like, it doesn't even make sense that he would block you outside of just, his attorneys advising him to?
I don't know. It's probably just the attorneys. Who knows? I can't really, confirm, but at the end of the day, it's a little bizarre because I've been fighting this for a while. And like I said, it's not like I was suing Elon. I sued Twitter and Jack and Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, P&G and FBI. This was before he bought Twitter, months before.
So can you, everybody's so excited that you're in here. Can you tell us a little bit about your story? Like, when did this start? It started in 2017. I know it's a super long story. Can you just give us the gist? I mean, you got deplatformed from Uber. I mean, your book's amazing. If you guys haven't read it, you should really read it.
Thank you. Yeah, so I got, a lot of this started to happen around 2017. I started to, when I was working for Project Veritas in 2015 and 2016, I got to see firsthand how, they were censoring during the elections, because I saw even our own tweets when I was doing the social media for Veritas, how they were censoring our investigations into Hillary. So it became very evident to me in 2015 and 16 that there was efforts to silence conservatives and political speech online. And then, of course, I got banned from Uber and Lyft in 2017, and I'm verified on Twitter in 2017 for my reporting. And then Twitter ultimately banned me in 2018. And then that proceeded to me getting banned on, all the different social media sites like Facebook, Instagram. I posted a list earlier you can show people. It's in my book. PayPal, Venmo, GoFundMe. My bank shut me down. Banned from Teespring, Medium, all these different sites, making me literally the most banned woman in the world. And I've been filing lawsuits and fighting these people for the last 6 years. And unfortunately, when they character assassinate you and they defame you, and they're able to convince people that you're crazy, or that you're, in my case, they called me an anti-Muslim conspiracy theorist and a white supremacist. It's really destroyed my career. My Wikipedia page reads worse than that of a serial killer. It's crazy. When I ran for Congress in 2020 and 2022, I was the first deplatformed candidate in United States history. So even when I won the GOP nominee, I wasn't allowed to create a Twitter account. And then Twitter and Facebook created new policies to make sure that my campaign specifically wouldn't be allowed to have social media accounts.
Dear Lord, and Ron DeSantis and the GOP did nothing for you, correct?
No, they did nothing.
In the free state of Florida, we were covering a lot about what I've learned from you, honestly. Everything that I've learned about DeSantis came from you. You're absolutely crushing it. And that all of your write-ups, and you just launched your Substack too. So anybody that wants to follow Laura, I'll share her Substack in here. She just launched that. It's awesome. It really is. You're doing a great job, Laura. We appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to our sit-down interview. And it's a lot. It's crazy to think that these companies, have this much power. And that's what I've been telling people. And it's what I wrote in my book, that, we're living in a communist technocracy where the big tech social media tyrants have more power than any elected representative, any body, even the president of the United States. They're more powerful than. You saw that they deplatformed Donald Trump while he was a sitting United States president. They allowed for the Taliban and other terrorist organizations to have access to accounts while they deplatformed a sitting president and denied access to, legitimate congressional candidates like myself. So this is a huge issue. It's a huge issue. And I would say that, big tech social media censorship and big tech election interference is the most pressing issue in our country and the world today. Because if we don't have fair elections and it's big tech that's financing all this voter fraud and theft of our elections, then what else really matters, right? We don't really have a voice on any other issue.
Absolutely. Censorship is 100% the most pressing issue. 100%, because if they can silence us, they can get away with anything. We have a voice to speak out against them and expose their corruption. That's probably why, Project Veritas had what's going on with James right now, which we were just listening to you were in that Twitter space last night. I streamed it this morning, and I just streamed it again tonight, because what you said about James, it's really important that everybody actually hears your side of things.
Yeah. Exactly. And, I worked for James for years, and, he actually wrote the foreword for my book, because you've read my book.
Yep.
So James O'Keefe wrote the foreword for my book, and there's a whole chapter in there about my time at Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. And it's really what the intro of my book is about. So James has a lot to do with my book.
And can you give us a little bit, I've always wanted to ask you this, I haven't got to. When you got deplatformed, because I lost my channel for 3 days for a weekend, and it was the most gut-wrenching And explain what that would do to somebody. And it's been going on for you for what now, 5 years? What was that?
Yeah,
Like, what is
almost
the
6 years
emotional
now.
roller coaster like? How did that affect you emotionally? Did it tear you apart? Was there you
Yeah,
had no
I
hope,
wrote
right?
a lot about this. I wrote a lot about this in my book, and I talked about how, it literally put me to the edge of wanting to commit suicide. Like, there was days where I got so depressed, and I was just so, I felt so helpless, especially when my bank account got shut down and I lost my ability to monetize, and, nobody was helping me and people were just trashing me, and I wasn't even able to, get my day in court. It's just when you feel that helpless and you're having legal fees that are basically that are more expensive, that make up more than what you're making per year, right? So this is totally destroyed me financially. It just makes you want to kill yourself. And so it's been a really big struggle. It really tests you psychologically, and it's a lonely world. And there's days even now, that are really hard. And it really, I would say that, and I wrote about this in my book, I actually had to go see a doctor and get treatment for it. It caused me such severe anxiety and depression that I, had to get treated for it. And my doctor had told me that he, believes that this gave me a form of PTSD, because it really honestly, reliving trauma. And I know that may sound over dramatic to people, but when it's not just about a Twitter ban, I'm talking about every single app, every single social media site, your bank, everything being shut down, simply because of lies about you on the internet and a coordinated effort to ruin your life. I was even illegally red flagged by the FBI. So, Facebook deemed me a dangerous individual. They said it was okay for people to kill me. This stuff really takes a toll on you when you're going up against the most powerful companies in the world, people with unlimited resources. And that's what I want people to understand.
Laura, well, I can say this for everybody in the stream. We appreciate everything you're doing, and we really hope you keep fighting that fight. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at CPAC. I really hope you go, and we'll film a lot of good stuff for you.
Yeah, that would be great. So we'll have to do it probably outside of CPAC, but maybe I'll go to DC during that time, since a lot of people will be there.
We'd love to have you, and we definitely shoot something out of it.
That's what's so funny, too, is I was banned from CPAC for asking a CNN reporter about why they were working with Twitter to ban conservatives. So I was there in 2019 trying to raise awareness. The video is actually on the YouTube page. I'll send it to you. But I confronted Oliver Darcy, and then I was banned from CPAC. So all I was trying to do was warn people about big tech censorship, and then I got banned from CPAC.
And it's so funny that we were watching that video of you in 2017 when you were calling out Jack Dorsey in front of Congress, and they laughed you off stage. And now looking back at it, yeah, real funny, you dicks. Maybe if you would have took Laura serious, we wouldn't all be in this position. If they would have listened to you from the very beginning and actually took you seriously, we would not be sitting in this position right now.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Wow. Laura, well, I appreciate you. I know you're a busy girl, so I won't take up more of your time. So thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate you. And Laura's link's pinned up there to donate. If you guys can donate even $10, every little bit you can give Laura to help her keep fighting this good fight is going to make the world a difference for her. Laura.
Yeah, talk to you soon. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Bye. Awesome. Isn't she awesome? Laura's been fighting for us from day one, from the very, very beginning, more than anybody, right there with James O'Keefe from the ground up. She wasn't the first reporter at Project Veritas, but what she sacrificed. If you hear her story about how she, James O'Keefe gave her the opportunity to come work at Project Veritas, now from how I understand it. And she lived in Florida. She was a college student, pretty much with not a penny to her name. She calls herself a thrifty bitch. She was a thrifty bitch back then. And she went down to New York, and she slept in a one-bedroom dump of apartment. She couldn't even afford to buy furniture. So she was literally sleeping on a blanket in a one-bedroom apartment in New York, just so she could come and prove herself to Project Veritas. And you listen to her stories in Washington, I forget what protest she was trying to get in, something with Al Sharpton. And she went out in New York, and at the time I think she had blonde hair. She's a tiny small girl, blonde hair in New York by herself, gets dropped off by the Project Veritas team with an undercover wire on, right? She's wearing her wire under her undercover wire and camera for Project Veritas under her outfit. And they're like, yeah, we need you to infiltrate like and get into these protests or something like that. So they dropped her outside, and she's seen like a group of girls like sitting on a sidewalk or talking or whatever. And she's like, oh, hey girls, like, are you guys going to the so-and-so protest? They're like, yeah, we're going. She like made friends with them. And these girls just invited her. So she's like, I don't know, had probably been like 21 at the time, maybe younger, gets dropped off in New York, a girl by herself in probably a not nice area, and then jumps into some van with these like 4 other women to go to these rallies, all while wearing an undercover wire. I mean, that's the balls that this girl has on her. She handcuffed herself to Twitter's headquarters. Yeah, when Twitter deplatformed her, she went out there and she had her friend weld together. You know how like the handcuffs have the chain in the middle, right? So anybody with bolt cutters could just come and cut that chain. So she had her friend weld a metal bar, like a thick, like a, 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch steel rod between the chains. So the cuffs were locked together. So once she locked herself to the Twitter headquarters, but when she was trying to do it so quick that when her friend was helping her, her friend's finger was in the door when the security guard came, and the security guard grabs the door and slams the door and took off her friend's finger. So they amputated her friend's finger trying to prevent Laura from handcuffing herself to the front door at Twitter headquarters. Yeah, she's a freaking trooper. Absolute trooper. So her friend lost her finger, and then when she was putting the handcuffs on, she put them on so tight. So she was just, obviously trying to get there. Like, I got to get these handcuffs on in 2 seconds. And then she had like something on like a sign on her shirt that said something about her being, she's the J word. I don't want to say anything about a race on here. I'll probably get my stream flagged, but yeah, it was a really cool story. So I'm really trying. Since I heard her story, I was like, Laura, you got to let me try to film a documentary for you. At first, I was like, I just want to fly down and do an in-person interview. And then then I started reading her book, and I read her book. I'm like, please let me film this documentary for you. So I've just been like, kind of like slowly pushing her, like, please let me film this documentary, because that would be a freaking banger. If I could get that documentary, I only need like 2 or 3 guests. If she get like Roger Stone and a couple guests to come talk about her and help tell her story with her, I could make one of the best documentaries on big tech censorship that you guys have ever seen. I'm probably not one of the best. I'm sure there's some really talented people out there with a lot of resources, but I told her I'd invest $10,000 of my own money into producing the documentary for her. And I'm going to do all the expensive work myself. So it'll probably be like probably like a $50,000 production by the time it's done, if I were not to spend my own money. If I didn't do all the work myself, I mean, or most of it. Rev says she should come talk to me. Maybe we can figure out all I've seen. It's wild. Yeah, Rev says and what's crazy is they brainwash us into hating her, right? Like if you were to go Google her, go Google. Let's see what Wikipedia says about her. Look at this. This is Wikipedia. Laura Elizabeth Loomer, born May 21st, 1993, is an American far-right and anti-Muslim political activist, white nationalist, conspiracy theorist, and internet personality. She was the Republican nominee to represent Florida's 21st congressional district in the 2020 United States House of Representatives election, losing to Democrat Louis Frankel. Loomer has worked as an activist and journalist for several organizations, including Project Veritas, a right-wing group known for producing secretly recorded and deceptively edited undercover audio and video investigations of media organizations and left-leaning groups. They paint her out to be this, like, listen, like, I don't think any of us are left or right anymore. It's literally the American people versus the communists. There's white nationalists. Yeah, like Laura's a real big white nationalist. Like, you should be able to, like, we need to start getting our politicians to start putting things in place that can hold accountable sites like this. Like, so Wikipedia is the #1 place. It's the first place that pops up when you search for somebody, right? Like, I search Laura Loomer, right? What's the first thing that pops up? So studies show that 97% of sales generated from a business come from page 1 of Google. So that means that if anything positive about Laura is not on page 1 of Google, 97% of people searching it aren't going to find it. And what's the very first thing? What is it? Out of that 97%, I bet you 99% click the first link that pops up. There's right and wrong, Wayne. Yep. There is right and wrong. Good versus evil. Yep, that's what we guys. That's what we need to just keep supporting people like Laura that are actually fighting for us. Because gosh forbid if Laura ever won and actually had a stage, she would make Marjorie Taylor Greene look like an angel. And what's crazy is Marjorie Taylor Greene was fighting for Laura too. And then the only person that actually said something about her on the stand was Laura Paulina Luna. She did a great job. So if you guys missed the beginning of the stream, check it out. I have like a 15-minute section in the very beginning that I pre-recorded and edited out. And it's all about Laura Loomer and what they did to her. So I just really wanted to stop in here and tell you guys how much I appreciate you. Everybody that shows up and everybody that watches all my shorts and all my videos and goes out of the way. Political Hub, what up? What up? Political Hub's got some great YouTube channels. If you guys haven't checked him out, swing over there and search Political Hub on YouTube. He's got some really good content. Who is this guy? Probably more than I want to know, LOL. Never ask a question that it would be a burden for you to answer, for you to know the answer. Yeah, Ryan says, who is this guy? Probably more than I want to know, LOL. Never ask a question that it would be too big of a burden for you to know the answer. No doubt. Who's this guy? Appreciate y'all. Yo, Ryan, good to see you. Good to see you. Addison, what up? Common sense against stupidity is what we have going on now. It is. It's wild. We'll help her we're going to help her upcoming campaign for sure. I'm praying that Laura, she's running in Florida. I really like low-key, like, Laura, you should move to Michigan and take out, replace Gretchen Whitmore. Down in Florida, you might have your hands filled with some decent, competition. You come up to somewhere like Michigan and you get all your social media accounts back and you win this lawsuit. Oh, there's going to be no stopping her. If she wins this lawsuit, she's going to clean house with all these clowns. So donation buttons pinned up at the top. Appreciate everybody. Thank you guys. And I'll definitely be back online Monday night. I'm going to try to do some more streams. Yo, Tori, what up, man? I see you, buddy. I see you. Tori, another $2 nation. Gonna slam a couple chocolate chip cones. Come on, man. Love you guys. Have a great day, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you, Tori. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everybody. Jess, everybody that donated. I say bye too long. Love you guys.